Hello and welcome to our Advanced Screenwriting for Media Projects course. Today we on week number 5, lectures number 9 and 10, and we will discuss plotting and pacing. So introduction to our plotting and pacing structure. Today we will explore the fundamentals, principles of plotting and pacing in media projects, providing insights into crafting compelling narratives that engage audiences. So let's start here. The importance of plotting and pacing in media projects. So, at first, it's for structure and flow. So, plotting provides a blueprint for the narrative, shaping the story's progression. So, in general, we see whole picture from the structure. Uh, by the way, while we start to plotting our story, engagement and suspense. So, pacing controls the tempo and the rhythm, dictating how information is revealed and how tension builds. So, if plotting in general, like plot the story, pacing it's a tempo, how we will run through these different plotting structures and audience impact. So together, plotting and pacing influence emotional impact and memorability of a story. So usually it works together. So depend on your structure, plot points, plot moments, and how you will guide it through pacing. The same for audience, how they will accept and think about your story in general. So let's talk about principles of effective plotting. So mostly, as we discussed previously in our lectures and on our practice, the most important thing here is conflict. So conflict needs to be clear for audience. So a compelling story needs a central conflict that drives the narrative forward. So firstly, clear conflict. On the second point is character development. Previously, again, we discussed how important is character, and nowadays is mostly like how your audience, how they'll accept and think about your project in general. Firstly, they'll start to think about character, and then about plot, about script. So basically, characters should be well defined with motivations and goals that evolve throughout the story. The third one is rising stakes. We did three act structure by our previous screenwriting courses. So as the story progresses, the conflict should intensify, rising the stakes for the characters. So each time our story needs to be higher and higher in terms of conflict. It needs to be bigger. A lot of people needs to be involved. World needs to be involved in our conflict. So how we can show the rising stakes in our story through plotting. And fourth one is the final one is resolution. So the story should conclude with a satisfying resolution that provides closure and answer key questions. So all of the elements in the structure while you did this, your plotting, your conflicts, your questions, all of them needs to be answered through the end at the point of the resolution of your project. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about some techniques for establishing narrative tensions. Firstly, uh, we can discuss on our next courses lectures like about Alfred Hitchcock and how he creates suspense. Usually, in Hollywood, we call him master of suspense. And one of the first and important technique in establishing narrative tension is suspense and mystery. So introduce unanswered questions and unresolved situations to keep the audience guessing. So guessing here is involvement of your audience into our script, into our story. So it needs to be important when you're showing like how through some mystery questions, through some suspense moments, scenes, so different unresolved situations. Through them, we can show that something interesting happening by the structure of our plot. Secondary, it's cliffhangers. So mostly when we talk about different TV shows, especially, again, we discussed like not 3-act structure, but 4th-act structure. So there, mostly how they work at the 4th act, they show cliffhanger at the end. So end scenes or segments with dramatic events or revelations to leave the audience wanting more. Here, a good point and good example we can discuss is Marvel films. Each time you know that at the end of the movie they'll try to show the scene after titles, and there you will see some cliffhanger again, scene from the next movie, scene which show you another characters or evaluation and resolution for the next movie. And here, like, it's important to show different cliffhangers to our audience because through these cliffhangers, they will be involved in our story and they will want to watch some more story, some more interesting moments, and will be engaged in our project. And character development, for sure, like each time we will discuss it, each time it's important to show, to create like compelling characters, so we will be able to create tension through the characters, their internal conflicts, their relationships, and their choices. So basically, again, through our main character, secondary characters, we can show this interesting plot structure, and our audience will be engaging more and more through these characters. Okay, let's move on. So pacing strategies. Let's discuss pacing strategies for different media projects, because usually like how we will work, not only like films for screen, big screens or TV shows, but we talk here about different media formats, like some interactive media, VR, AR, games, and here like you need to think about these projects, a little bit different pacing for each one. For example, for film, we will use different cuts, dissolves, and other editing techniques to control the flow and rhythm of the story. So basically through uh, editing, also montage, we discussed on bachelor courses, like it's important to show through these different techniques. And for television, again, like employ faster pacing with shorter scenes and frequent commercial breaks to maintain viewer attention. So basically, television format is a little bit different here, and how we can show it. Each time we will break to different commercial breaks, and act structure is a little bit different. So we can use even these little moments, like right before we will go to commercial break. There we can show some cliffhanger. There we can show some interesting moment that will be engagement for audience. But here we can again try to think about different platforms where we can show our projects. So same here for TikTok, for Instagram, for different social network medias. There you go, for example, some social networks, they have ability to show only like 1 minute of video, like 15 seconds in the stories, or so on and so on. And there we can play through these frames and give some interesting key points to our story. And third one, so interactive media. So we can allow for our user to interact and choice to influence the pacing and direction of the narrative. So for the interactive media here, what we can do, it's to provide our viewer to be involved in this pacing, and there he will be able to control his pacing through his decisions, through his game pacing, for example, how he plays, what kind of elements he want to do in game or like in VR story, or like yes or no, true or false format, Through this, we can also navigate him, but of course, by our own script, by our own scenario, where in general we can control this project, but we will give our audience a little bit moments where he can play through it. Okay, let's move on. So here, let's discuss balancing exposition and action. So mostly, we discussed what is exposition and how through the only dialogue scenes you can show some exposition, but we usually need to do balance between exposition and action. So exposition is essential for conveying information and establishing context. But action drives the narrative forward, creating conflict and tension. And through this balance, when we're finding the right balance between exposition and action, it's crucial for a compelling story. So even when you're watching action-packed movies like John Wick or like all of the movies with Jason Statham, there still you will see that they'll try to take pause and show some exposition scenes, some dialogue scenes, some emotional scenes, because usually for our audience it's hard to each time watching only action, or vice versa in like even doramas, even in Turkish TV series, you'll see that they have a lot of exposition, a lot of scenes where characters just looking at each other, just talking about their feelings, their emotions, but still uh, in this, even Korean dramas, you still will see different action scenes, running, fighting, driving some uh, through the city. It's because each time you need to show and allow your audience to take a break from exposition and show action, and vice versa differently. Through action you can pose to exposition. So, and here we will be able to find the balance between this story. But again, don't forget about our 3 act structure, where we can show like these elements. Yes, like which time we want to show more rising action, where we can show some conflicts, where we can do these pauses for like thinking, for exposition. So all of the elements here we have, and we can show it through these interesting scenes by the structure of different media projects. Let's move on. So incorporating reversals and plot twist. So what's reversal? Reversal usually it's a shift in the narrative that changes the direction of the story. And plot twist, it's a surprising revelation or unexpected event that alters the audience understanding of the story. So here on the screenshot, I wanted to show you Memento of Christopher Nolan, Get Out, and Shutter Island with DiCaprio. So these 3 different movies, they even like genres is different, but still they have this reversal moments and plot twists. Again, here we can include some like movies like Parasite. There you'll see like how they differently reverse it, the story from one point to another, or like Shutter Island. First it was like detective kind of movies, then it's kind of started to be like some mystery or horror movie. And here, like for sure, for our audience, for our viewers, it will be more and more interesting because something changed in history. They need to think again. They need to think what's happening. They need to understand again, like whole movie, to rethink about it. And this kind of techniques, they usually helps us to gain emotions, gain attention for our viewers. For sure, we can add this some plot twists, some reversals for audience. It will be interesting. So, for example, I watched Get Out. in the movie theater in the United States, and mostly like there was like black audience for them. It was an interesting project, and it was about them, about their some representation, and for sure, like I think I was there in the movie theater only one uh, not non-black person, and for me it was interesting how they accepted these different plot twists, different reversals, different cliffhangers, because they as an audience they was engaged in this story because it was partially about them, about their history of like segregation and so on and so on. And for me, it was interesting as for uh, observer. So I watch it more, not movie, but I watch it emotions and feelings of the audience. So for me, it was interesting experience. But still, if you didn't watch Get Out, I highly recommend you to watch because it's very interesting movie in terms of reversal, plots, and plot twists. Okay, let's move on. So maintaining audience engagement through pacing. So pacing again is very important in different projects because through pacing you can show our audience where he can think more about plot or where he can mostly like watch into action, into scenes what's happening, and through this through different pacing techniques we can maintain audience engagement through this pacing. So firstly, when we talk about pacing, it's mostly like tempo. Like we can vary a different tempo structure. We can avoid monotony by alternating between fast-paced scenes and slower, more introspective moments. So through tempo, through chronology, we can make it a little bit slower, a little bit faster, even through dialogue. So how fast our character will speak, how fast will action happen into our scene, or even for action scenes, there we can make slow moments, like uh, only characters motion, or like clock ticking before bomb explode, like some quiet moments where audience listening to what's happening. So even through this varying tempo, in terms of slow motion, fast forwards, we can give our audience breaks even in only action scenes or only exploration scenes. So here, tempo is good uh, instrument, good tool in our hand to give our audience moment to think or vice versa, moment to enjoy action. The next one is breaks and transitions. So we can use some pauses or different transitions to provide moments of reflection and allow the audience to process information. So montage scenes like with music, with some establishing shots of different locations. So here we can give some break, we can give some transition to different scenes, different locations to our audience, and their brain can be paused and will have time to think about story, about what's happening in the movie, about what will happen next. So for the audience, some breaks, some pauses, it's also important. And through this tempo, through this pacing, we can give them some moments to think and to process the information. Okay, the next one is flashback and foreshadowing. So we can employ flashbacks to reveal past events or foreshadow future events to create a sense of anticipation. So for example, as on previous shot, you can watch one of the first projects of Christopher Nolan called Memento, and there he like plays with time, with different scenes, what's happening next, what's happening before, his memories, his flashbacks, his flash forwards. So all of these moments, like for story also. For example, Christopher Nolan used these techniques as uniqueness of his project. So through these techniques, he wanted to create unique project, and he succeeded. Mostly because of Memento, he started his career like on the big A Hollywood projects. And for sure, we also can use some flashbacks, and mostly flashbacks gives us a little bit moment of thinking about pause, about some transition to reflect what's happened, and vice versa. Flash forwards, like foreshadowing, showing something that will happen in the future. It tries to fast forward our pacing, our history. So mostly, usually in different like haste movies, like action movies, or like post-apocalypse movies. At the beginning, they will show you what will happen at the end, and then say through the structure, through the plotting, they try to reveal scene by scene what will happen and how story will came to this point that they showed you at the beginning. So it's kind of like foreshadow or like fast forward scene. Okay, let's move on. So uh, for sure we will do our different practical exercises for plotting and pacing in our auditorium on practice hours. But good examples here, like good exercises, good instruments. First is storyboarding. For sure, we can place different stories and visualize them through the different visual cards, and we can visualize scenes and sequences to plan the pacing and flow of the story. And basically, like storyboarding is very good instrument to place different scenes and play with them, like change their uh, moment when they will happen. Maybe it will be at the beginning or at the end. So it's visually gives you full picture of your story. So writing for sure, like we can practice more writing dialogue, action descriptions, and transitions that effectively convey pacing. So because our course called Advanced Screenwriting, so mostly we'll focus on writing, and we will discuss like in terms of even dialogue, how dialogue can change pace. And editing is mostly like for your future projects, so you will be able to experiment with different pacing techniques and editing styles to see how they affect the audience. So here, like for example, Jaws. I think we discussed it previously, but it's a good example how they started to create these different use different editing techniques to not show our shark, but give more pacing and plotting through these editing cuts. Okay, so I think it's a little bit early to talk about conclusion. Let's me talk about maybe like different examples in our projects. So again, plot is very important for each media project. Doesn't matter. Again, it's a 15 seconds TikTok or like feature film or 9 season TV show. There, if you will start to think about plot with a whole picture with different elements that you can show to your audience, it's better to think about plot at the beginning before writing. So here, like storyboarding is good exercise to show and to navigate your story, because plot is the structure, is the foundation of your story, and it needs to be consistent, like step by step, like all of the elements in our 3-act structure. Everything needs to be working at the same time. It needs to be showing as some story elements and some plotting. Again, how we can navigate it through our story is through our pacing. And pacing, again, if you will watch different TV shows, different films, different even cartoons, and again, even like TikToks, there you will see different pacing. Mostly pacing depend on different genre, on different story project. Even like usually in social media network formats, you will see that pacing mostly based on music. How like they will dance, they will show you some key moments in their video. It's through music key tempo points, and still it gives us understanding how pacing works, so we can incorporate again music for some montage scenes, for some uh, like clip kind of music videos kind of formats for our scenes, and there we can navigate it through music to give some pacing through music. And good example here is a movie called Малыш на драйве, Baby Driver, I think. Movie. There you will see that each haste, each operation, they start driver. He starts from choosing special playlist for this scene, and whole scene happens under this pacing of the tempo of this music. They'll try to navigate you to show you through music. This tempo reveals tempo elements, fast forwards or flashbacks through music because it's connected, and for audience it's easy to listen and see and link these visual and audio scenes together, or vice versa. Again, like some quiet scenes. Previously we discussed like quiet uh, place movie, and there they tried to make non-dialogue movie, like a lot of quiet moments, a lot of intense quiet scenes with total silence, but still it started to drive the story, to show you some elements, to show you some different aspects of plotting and pacing. Because again, when we talk about media projects, it's in general how we can see it, how we can listen to it, how we can feel it. So all of the elements works together. We need to put it, we need to incorporate all of the audio visual elements through the story. And there we will be able to give these different feelings to our audience, because how they accept this, how they think about this. So it's important for us, and we can play with our audience through balancing plotting and pacing, and we can incorporate this plotting and pacing through our script. Again, doesn't matter what kind of project. It's VR, it's a game, it's music video, it's TV show. Still there, and on our practice we will discuss which tool is better for different media project. For balance, again, we discussed it. Okay, I think in terms of tension, if you will watch, for example, you like comedies or like some easygoing sitcoms, but check them out, still they have some tension scenes. Tension, not like in the terms of suspense or mystery or some cliffhangering moments, but still, even just in dialogues, they will be able to show you some tension. When we talk about tension, here, like maybe conflicts, maybe emotional, different feelings, relations, like choices, what will choose our character, even like, for example, just choosing what to eat. Like, do he want to eat burger or hot dog? Even through this, we will be able to show some conflict of interest, conflict of his relations between his stomach and his mind. Like maybe he has allergy on burgers, or for example, but he like burgers. So even through these little moments, we can show tension to our audience. What I want to state is not important only like for murder movies, detectives, or horror movies. Suspense and mystery, like tension and cliffhangers, it's for all of the different variety of projects, not only for detectives or horror films. Okay, I think we can end our today's lecture. So for sure, by mastering the art of plotting and pacing, we can create compelling and engaging narratives that will resonate with our audience. So here, most important is to resonate with our audience and to give them some emotions, some feelings, some different motivations, maybe even motivations. So plotting and pacing is very important in storytelling in general, especially for us as screenwriters for different media projects. Okay, that's it for today. That's it for lecture number 9 and 10 at the week number 5. See you on practice and goodbye.